This content is my summary of Lawrence Gardner views on Mary Magdalene. Gardner is a Gnostic, so his story can be promoting his ideas. For example, he is claiming Revelation 12 being the story of exile of Mary Magdalene. Early Christian texts describe Mary Magdalene as the woman who knew the all. She was the one whom Christ loved more than all the disciples. She was the apostle endowed with knowledge, vision and insight far exceeding Peter's, and she was the beloved bride who anointed Jesus at the sacred marriage, the Hieros Gamos, at Bethany. Disregarding all of this, the Roman Church chose in due course to discredit Mary Magdalene, in an attempt to exalt her mother-in-law, Jesus' mother Mary. To accomplish this, they made use of ambiguous comments in the New Testament, comments that originally described the unmarried Magdalene as a sinner, which actually meant that she was a celibate alma undergoing assessment in betrothal. The duplicitous bishops decided, however, that a sinful woman must be a whore, and Mary was thereafter branded as a harlot. Even today, one definition of the word Magdalene in the Oxford Dictionary is reformed prostitute. Many artists have nonetheless been careful to counter this church-promoted slur by depicting Mary wearing a white blouse or a cloak lined with the white silk of purity. There is a fascinating parallel between Mary and one of her fellow migrants to Gaul in terms both of aspersions cast on her character, and of coloration in depiction by later artists. The migrant in question is Helena-Salome. Because of his dislike for women and especially educated women, Peter had always regarded Helena-Salome as a witch. He paid no heed to the fact that she was close to Jesus' mother, and had accompanied her at the crucifixion. As the consort of Simon Zelotes, Zebedee, Helena had in fact also been the conventional mother of the apostles James and John Boanerges. Unlike Mary Magdalene, who was attached to the regional Order of Dan, Helena belonged to the Order of Asher, an order wherein the women were allowed to own personal property, and in which the priestesses were known, in Greek, as hierodule, sacred women. Helena was indeed a high priestess of the order in Ephesus, holding the title of Sarah, and as such was entitled to wear a red robe, much as today's Roman Catholic cardinals are dressed from head to toe in red. Such highly ranked women were greatly feared by Peter, for the likes of Helena were a constant threat to his own position. The Roman Church inherited that same dislike and that same fear. Outside conventional orders, there are no Roman Catholic female clergy today. Thus the once venerated image of the Scarlet women, the hierodule, was transformed and, via medieval French into English, they became harlots. The women of the Order of Dan were lay Nazarites. Mary Magdalene, as a Miriam, was a head sister of the order, the equivalent of a senior bishop, and was entitled to wear black, like the Nazarites and the priests of Isis. It is also a fact that in parallel with the early reverence for Mary Magdalene, a cult known as that of the Black Madonna emanated from Ferriers in AD 44. The concept of red-caped women of religious rank actively infuriated the Vatican hierarchy. Despite the Church's separate veneration of Jesus' mother, especially following the Council of Ephesus in 431, Catholic bishops were determined that artists should not dignify her with the same privileged posterity accorded to the Magdalene. In 1659, Rome felt obliged to go as far as to issue a decree that all images of Jesus' mother, the White Madonna, should depict her wearing blue and white only. The Black Madonna has her tradition in Queen Isis and her roots in the pre-patriarchal Lilith. She thus represents the strength and equality of womanhood, a proud, forthright, and commanding figure as against the strictly subordinate image of the conventional White Madonna, as seen in church representations of Jesus' mother. It was said that both Isis and Lilith knew the secret name of God, a secret held also by Mary Magdalene, the woman who knew the all. The Black Madonna is thus also representative of the Magdalene who, according to the Alexandrian doctrine, transmitted the true secret of Jesus. The long-standing Magdalene cult was in fact particularly associated with Black Madonna locations. She is black because wisdom, Sophia, is black, having existed in the darkness of chaos before the creation. To the Gnostics of Simon, Magus, Zelotes, wisdom was the Holy Spirit, the great and immortal Sophia who brought forth the first Father Yaldabaoth from the depths. Sophia was held to be incarnate as the Holy Spirit in Queen Mary Magdalene, and it was she who bore the ultimate observance of the faith. A special new document was then produced, setting out what the Church reckoned to be the position of Mary Magdalene. Called the Apostolic Order, it was effectively the transcript of an imagined discussion between the apostles after the Last Supper. Quite incidentally, it claimed, as the Gospels do not, that both Mary and Martha were present, thereby defeating part of its own objective. An extract from the supposed debate reads: John said, when the Master blessed the bread and the cup, and assigned them with the words, "This is my body and blood," he did not offer them to the women who are with us. Martha said, he did not offer them to Mary because he saw her laugh. On the basis of this purely imaginary story, the Church decreed that the first apostles had clearly stated that women were not to be permitted to become priests because they were not serious-minded. The essence of this fabricated conversation was then adopted as formal church doctrine, and Mary Magdalene was thereafter pronounced a disbelieving recusant. The baptismal priests of the Gospel era were described as fishers. From the moment Jesus was admitted to the priesthood in the order of Melchizedek, he too became a designated fisher. The dynastic line of the House of Judah was thus uniquely established as a dynasty of priest-kings, or, as his descendants became aptly known in Grail lore, fisher kings. The lines of descent from Jesus and Mary which emerged through the fisher kings preserved the maternal spirit of X, to become the family of the waters, the House Delux. Merovingian branches of the family that descended from Jesus through the fisher kings became counts of Toulouse and Narbonne, and princes of the Septimanian Midi, the territory between France and Spain. Another family branch, related through the female line, was granted the Celtic Church heritage of Avalon, with Vivian Delux acknowledged as the hereditary High Queen in the early 6th century. In Brittany, a corresponding male branch of the Provençal House Delux became the Comtes, Counts, Léon Dux in descent from Vivian I's granddaughter Morgane.